low, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Brian Giles is Brian Giles MTG. And I'm back with more Lost Caverns of Ixalan spoilers. So starting off, we have Dusk Legion Sergeant. So it's a black and 1 for excuse me, I'm trying to adjust my camera here. It's black and 1 for a 2/2 vampire soldier with menace. Pay a black and 1, sacrifice it. Each non-token vampire you control gains persist until end of turn. Which, for those of you that don't know, persist is when it dies. It's it had no -1/-1 counters on it. When it dies, you had no -1/-1 counters on it. You return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. I'm sorry about the darkness of this. Okay, next up we have a very interesting card in Master of the Dark Rites. Master of Dark Rites is black mana for a 1/1 vampire cleric. Tap it and sacrifice another creature to add 3 black mana. Spend this mana only to cast vampire, cleric, and or demon spells. Ew. Black ramp. Next up we have Promise of Alclazot. Which is a for a black and 1, you get an enchantment that has a sorcery adventure for Foul Rebirth for a black and 2. Sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, create a 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, populate. Ew. And this is in a deck that's constantly creating, the little 1/1 vampires tokens with lifelink. Ew. Ugh. This is just dirty. Oh. Next up, we have Order of Sacred Dusk. A beefy white, black, and 6 for a 5/5 vampire knight with Convoke. Well, you're creating all these little 1/1 vampires, so the Convoke is where each creature you control to tap it while casting the spell adds one generic or 1 mana of that creature's color. It has flying, lifelink, and haste, and is exalted. Ew. Other vampires you control have exalted. Ew. This thing is dirty. So you got a deck that creates cards that can help cast this. It has flying, lifelink, and haste, and exalted. So if this attacks alone, you can make it into a 6/6, and all your other vampires that you control have exalted. Oh, it's just dirty. Next up, this card is insane. This is Weta Trainer Prodigy. A red, a green, and white for a 1/5 legendary human warrior with haste. You can pay a green and 2, tap it, target creature you control fights another target creature. This ability costs 2 less to activate if it targets 2 creatures you control. If a creature you control being dealt damage causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. We just talked about a card. And I told you I looked forward and I saw this. Oh. Polyraptor. So you take a card that's lesser than the Polyraptor's toughness, and you can create, it says whenever it's dealt damage, create a token that's a copy of Polyraptor. Except with that, you can make 2 copies of it. So Weta can make 2 copies of a Polyraptor. That's just wicked. That's evil. Straight up evil. So this is the commander for the Dino deck. So we have, next up we have Bronzebeak Foragers. A white and 3 for a 3/4 dinosaur. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile 1 non-land permanent that player controls until Bronzebeak Forager leaves the battlefield. You pay a white and X, put a target card with mana value X, exile with Bronzebeak Foragers into its owner's graveyard, and you gain X life. Ooh, in a commander game, you get 3 cards exiled. Three non-land permanents, and then you can use the mana value of those permanents to gain life. Then we have Curious Altasaur, a green and 3 for a 2/5 dinosaur with vigilance and reach. Whenever a dinosaur you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay. Then we have Dinosaur Egg. So, a green and 1 for a 0/3 Dinosaur Egg. It has evolved. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Ew. When Dinosaur Egg dies, you may discover X, where X is its toughness. That sounds like fun. Next up, we have From the Rubble. 2 white and 4 for an enchantment that reads, when it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Beginning of your end step, return target creature card of the chosen type from the graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Oh, works very well in tribal type decks. We have Progenitor's Icon. 3 mana for an artifact that reads, as Progenitor's Icon enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color, or tap it, the next spell of the chosen type you cast this turn can be cast as though it had flash. Oh, that's wicked. That's a wicked little artifact. So you can cast creature spells or any kind of spell, any creature spell of the chosen type as though it had flash. That could be interesting. Next up, we have Scion of Calamity. So 2 green for 2 green and 3 for a 5/5 dinosaur with Myriad. Their Scion of Calamity deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Oh, that could be wicked. And because it has Myriad, it's attacking lots of different players. Next up, we have Sunfrill Imitator. A green and 2 for a 3/3 dinosaur. Whenever Sunfrill Imitator attacks, you may have it become a copy of another target dinosaur you control, except its name is Sunfrill Imitator, and it has this ability. Ooh. That's an interesting card. Next up, we have Wrathful Raptors. A red and 4 for a 5/5 dinosaur with trample. Whenever a dinosaur you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that is not a dinosaur. So this is a dinosaur version of Wrathful Red Dragon. So hoo-ha! I consider that a win. Okay, next up we have Zola Toyak, the Smiling Flood. A green and blue and 4 for a 6/6 legendary Salamander Serpent. Okay. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, put a flood counter on target land. That land is an island in addition to its other types for as long as it has a flood counter on it. Ew. Ew. Island walk, anyone? At the beginning of your end step, untap each permanent you control with a counter on it. Okay. So you can do that to your lands as well. Untap your lands. Ew. That sounds like fun. Interesting commander. Next up we have Bygone Marvels. 2 green for sorcery that reads, send 8. When you cast this spell, there are 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. Copy this spell twice. You choose new targets for the copy. Turn target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Bygone Marvel. Ooh. That's, for recursion, that's going to be interesting. If we have Deep Root Historian, green and 3 for a 3/3 Merfolk Druid. Merfolk and Druid cards in your graveyard have retrace. This means you can cast those cards with retrace by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other costs. Okay. Next up we have Mist Dancer. A blue and 4 for a 3/3 Merfolk Wizard with flying. Other Merfolk you control get +1/+0 and have flying. It has Encore for two blue and 5, which means you can exile a card, pay that, and then exile a card from the graveyard. For each opponent, create a token copy that attacks that opponent this turn if able. They gain haste. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. Ripples of Potential. A blue and 1 for an instant that reads proliferate, and choose any number of permanents you control that had a counter put on them this way. Those permanents phase out. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, Singer of Swift Rivers. A green, a blue, and 1 for a 3/2 Merfolk Shaman with Flash. When it enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on another target creature you control. You may cast Merfolk spells as though they had Flash. Ooh. So you get shield counters and you can flash in your Merfolk. That's cool. Then we have Topography Tracker. For a green and 2, you get a 2/2 Merfolk Scout. So green and 2 for a 2/2 Merfolk Scout. When it enters the battlefield, create a map token. The creature you control would explore. Instead, it explores, then it explores again. That's nice. More exploring. And it creates a map token to start off with. So you got Tributary Instructor. Green and 3 for a 4/4 Merfolk Shaman with Mentor. Which means when it attacks, you get a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, draw a card. Okay. Wave goodbye. So 2 blue and 2 for a sorcery that reads, return each creature without a +1/+1 counter on it to its owner's hand. So the Merfolk deck's all about putting +1/+1 counters on stuff. And this is kind of like a bounce board wipe. So that's interesting. That looks like it for right now. Gonna make one double check. Oh, we got a couple more. We have Frilled Caveworm. Blue and 3 for a 2/5 Salamander Worm. It has the Send 4. Frilled Caveworm gets +2/+0 as long as there are 4 more permanent cards in your graveyard. Okay, that's... Then we have Primordial Gnar. A black and 4 for a 5/2 Insect Horror. When it dies, discover 3. Okay, that's interesting. Well, that's it for right now. we're going to say, hoo-ha, we'll see you on the next video.